Hello guys, my name's Luke and welcome to this video. And yes, as you can tell from the title and the introduction, this is going to have to be a part one of a many-part series where we analyze Bitcoin's price journey on its way to at least $1 million. But before we dive into the charts and start using technical analysis to assess where our current 3-year bull market is headed, I'm going to give a very quick, very brief 5-minute introduction into how our global financial system is structured and the need for Bitcoin on a fundamental global level. If you've already swallowed that red pill and understand how money works and what Austrian economics is and sound money and why we've used gold for 7,000 years, congratulations. Feel free to jump ahead to about the 5.5-minute mark when we start looking at the charts. If not, grab yourself a pen and paper, and I'm going to give a very quick, very brief introduction into how our global financial system is structured. Now, in today's video, we're only going to have enough time to really analyze the charts. We're going to look at the 11-year history of Bitcoin. We're going to analyze how it performs in a 3-year bull run and a 1-year bear market. We're going to show just how early we are into this current 3-year bull run, which on the charts here, guys, we have only just begun. And we're going to analyze it's what we're going to expect in this current 3-year bull run. Because just like any other market, nothing moves up in a straight line. So we're going to look at that today as well, guys. We're not going to go all the way down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, but we're going to touch on what Bitcoin mining is. I'm going to show just how early we are in this 3-year bull market, because there is a long way to go, guys. People forget Bitcoin was created for this very reason. Fiat currency collapse. Bitcoin was created in 2009 as an alternative to what really is the largest financial experiment in 7,000 years of monetary history. And as we're going to discover on this channel, that is by no means any kind of exaggeration or hyperbole, because we have never, ever had every single country around the world using a fiat currency.
I have directed Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets, except in amounts and conditions determined to be in the interest of monetary stability and in the best interest of the United States.
Yes, so that historic announcement by the US President Richard Nixon in 1971 was what initiated this fiat currency fiasco, the experiment that we were talking about earlier. That was when every single country around the world, doesn't matter if it's Australian dollars, British pounds, the Japanese yen, Brazilian real, that was when every single country transitioned from a gold-backed currency to purely paper, not backed by anything. And the only thing that gives it value is because governments declare that we must pay our taxes in that currency. That was the first time in 7,000 years that every country around the world has been forced to use government money or fiat money. But good news, fiat money always collapses, guys, every single time in human history. 599 times a fiat currency has collapsed when they become over-indebted and the Ponzi scheme eventually runs out of legs. They only survive on inflationary monetary policies and ever-increasing amounts of debt. And as we can see, or as we're going to discover in future videos, at the moment we've got over $300 trillion of global debt. And the United States, or the global reserve currency, currently has a debt to GDP ratio greater than 130%. And 51 out of 52 times a country or government has had a GDP ratio of greater than 130%, that currency has had to default on that debt. Now, countries only default on the debt in two ways. They either say, hey, look, we were irresponsible, we created too much debt, we robbed you, we're just going to let it collapse. That's the more painful way. They typically don't like to do that. They generally like to take option number 2 in defaulting on debt. And that is simply printing the currency into oblivion, because they have the power to print money out of thin air and bail out the over-indebted banks and large corporations that are all zombie companies, which we'll also touch on in the future videos. Okay, guys, that's why they are committed to changing their inflation targets, because they're trying to devalue the debt. And that's why you're seeing inflation hedge assets or forms of money that can't have their supply increased rally and be the best performing assets of 2019 and 2020. That's gold, silver, and Bitcoin, guys, because people are starting to wake up and realize that the money they hold and trade 50 hours of their time for every week is being devalued to try to support these historic levels of debt. Okay, guys, that's just a little taster of the very complex global macro environment. We're going to break that down in much easier to understand terms in the next videos, but it is very important to understand and to really get a grip of how much of a game changer Bitcoin could be in this global currency reset or restructuring event. That's why you're seeing all the smartest macro investors all around the world flocking to go buying gold and also Bitcoin because they are hedges to the currency that is going to have to be devalued over the following next few years as we go through this large deleveraging or a complete financial system reset. Okay, now, believe it or not, that is as simplified as I could break down the global financial system and how it's currently structured, because it's very pivotal in understanding how it's operated over the past 30 or 40 years, understanding what a fiat currency is, understanding what a money is. And when I red pill you guys and we go all the way down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, you will see just how much of a game changer this new form of money could be. We've never had a form of money with a finite supply. So we're going to go in much more detail of how the system works in the following video. Now we're going to get onto the part that you guys probably all came for. We're going to have a look at the technical analysis and back onto the Bitcoin charts and have a look at the entire 11-year history of Bitcoin and where we think it could go over the next couple of years. Okay, let's do this. So when we look at the long-term chart of Bitcoin dating all the way back to 2009 when it was first created, we can see that it generally runs in these kind of cycles here, guys. We can see that we generally have a bull market, which generally lasts around 3 years, where the price appreciates and we get very large returns in each of these 3-year bull markets. But towards the end of these 3-year bull markets, price generally gets a little bit overextended and a little bit overhyped for the actual fundamentals or the technicals for the Bitcoin network at that particular time. So after we have a 3-year bull run, we typically have had around a 1-year bear market where the price crashes and corrects sometimes between 80 and 90% of the entire price there, guys. So this process is completely normal for any market that's new and growing, and it's healthy to flush out the speculators and the over-leveraged retail investors that entered the crypto space towards the end of one of these 3-year bull runs, just anticipating that the price will only go up forever. But we're going to cover the market behavior of certain participants later on in the video. Another key thing to notice with the charts is each of these 3-year bull markets, they tend to start either just before or just after the Bitcoin halving, which is highlighted here in these red vertical lines I've got drawn on the screen here, guys. We've had a halving in 2012, 2016, and we just had our halving in 2020. And this generally sparks the next 3-year bull run, okay? So now for anyone new to Bitcoin or doesn't know what the halving is, essentially every 10 minutes the Bitcoin miners are paid what's called the Bitcoin block reward. Now, these Bitcoin miners are essentially these supercomputers distributed all around the world that help validate and secure all the Bitcoin transactions that occur on the network. Now, these miners essentially package all the Bitcoin transactions into blocks, and every 10 minutes, a new block is added to the Bitcoin blockchain, all right? So now the block reward that's paid to the miners every time they add a new block onto the Bitcoin blockchain, this reward is halved every 4 years or every 120,000 blocks that are added to the Bitcoin blockchain. So all we need to know for today's video is the Bitcoin halving ensures that there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins ever created. And at the moment, we've already mined around 17 million of these Bitcoins, okay? So this absolutely limited supply is like honestly a revolutionary invention, guys, when it comes to money, because we've never had a form of money that's absolutely scarce. Okay, so gold has been the best form of money that we've used. Okay, for the previous 3,000 years, and it's even been used for up in some cases for around 7 to 8,000 years because it's relatively scarce and rare in the ground. Okay, so we've only ever mined it's 190,000 metric tons of gold in human history, guys. And that rarity and that scarcity is the reason it's been the best form of money for the previous 7,000 years. And if you want to find out why Bitcoin has the potential to be a better form of money than gold, which has been the globe's choice for money for the previous 7,000 years, and you also want to find out why that beautiful chart above me is headed to at least $1 million per Bitcoin by the end of 2022, I'm sorry to do this to you guys, but you better tune in tomorrow for part two of the video because this is the end of part one, okay, guys? And just a little bit of housekeeping here on the channel, guys. We're new to YouTube, so we have to play the YouTube algorithms game. If you like what I'm producing here on YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It helps to grow the channel and puts the content in front of more and more eyes here on YouTube. So stay safe and until tomorrow. See you guys.